Our next person who's going to conduct a workshop is Sandra Schmoldt. She is the founder of EQUILIDO, but she's been in the world of communication and has worked with some marquee companies. But that story directly from Sandra. Sandra, over to you.
Great, thank you so much. So, hello all. I'm really so honored to be here with you, and thank you so much for joining me after all those hours you've been following already in the event. And I would also like to thank Anyavan and Devyani, of course, for having me. As you are here with me, I suppose it is because you would like to be well in your life, right? I mean, this is the topic of our workshop today. And as this coming hour is really meant to be quite interactive, I would like to start right away with a little poll. This is why I had asked Anyavan to put it up. So this will mark a first little test for us as a little warm up basically, and also to see if that works. So here it is. Let's jump right in. Oh, okay, you actually, I see, okay, it has been going on. So you have been working while I was talking. How important is your well-being to you? And I see for most of you, it's very important. We have 71% scoring. Do you see the results? Maybe just to check. Can you see the results?
Yes. Yeah, not yet. So we'll just ask the others to vote as well.
The test is so useful. Just go ahead and put in how well-being is scoring in your life. And I think I'm gonna end it now and I will share the results. So this is our first test. Are you ready to share it? So you can see the majority of everyone here on the call thinks that well-being does matter to them personally as well. And it is important to 24%. And we have some people who are kind of neutral. Okay, that's a good start. Now I'll stop to share those results and I'll have to just see. Okay, now I have a little, yeah, I have to, yep, getting ready to deal with the technologies, but I think the Zoom gods are on my side here. So thank you very much for sharing. And you've seen, you know, this is what we're going to do more in our session. Now let's test another option of how you can interact with me here on Zoom today. And I've seen you did it before, but maybe you just joined. And I would ask you to please open your chat box just for a second. And I would ask you to please give me a yes in the chat once you've opened it. It's that little bubble you see on your bar. If you would like to have the mental fitness to be well, regardless of the circumstances, please share with panelists and attendees so everyone can see that. I see a yes, 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 yes. Do I see more yeses coming in? Yeah, I see Rochelle, I see Henry, I see Ruth, Rafaela, Sandra, yes, 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 that's very good. So we all share actually the vibe of being connected across the world. I see that, and across time zones, so it's really good to have you. Thanks so much. By the way, if you have a question during the session, I suggest you use the Q&A button and type in your question right away so it doesn't get lost. However, I thank you for bearing with me until the end of the session. Then I will be happy to answer any question that may still have been unanswered. Now, over to our topic, actually. Since the event started 3 hours ago, employee well-being was presented and filtered through very different lenses. some of them very touching, very personal, some of them more on the corporate side. This session here is meant to look at it through your lens, taking your reality into account and your mental capacity to keep your well-being balanced at a very high level. Let me start to share my slides here and see if that works as well. Can you see my slides? Just to double check. Just give me a yes in the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, so we are up and running here. And there are actually a lot of recent breakthroughs in neuroscience and technology that will help you to do that and make sure your well-being is actually at a high level. So with this, I officially welcome you to our workshop, Unleash Your Mental Power to Be Well. Now, looking at the low end of it, let me ask you a question. When you experience stress, pressure, or a setback, maybe a rejection from a prospective client, negative feedback from your boss, losing your cool when talking to your teenager, how long does it take you to recover? That is, recenter yourself mentally and emotionally. The answer actually depends on the strength of your negative thought patterns of the mind, which are hidden in the unconscious. In short, these automatic habits waste a ton of your mental and emotional energy, which in turn prolongs your recovery time. But here's the good news. You can create a difference in how you deal with challenges and setbacks in your life. And you can improve your mental fitness. And this will have a great impact on your relationships, your performance, and your peace of mind. In our session today, I'm going to share 3 keys with you that may mark the start for you to consciously train your mental fitness. Number 1, get to know a simplified operating model that helps you to discern how your mind is working against your best interest. Key number 2, learn how to stop those self-sabotaging habits of your mind. And my key number 3 is explore how you can shift into a different mindset that is nourishing and constructive. And at the end of the session, there's a special giveaway waiting for you if you stay tuned. This gift may help you to take another step on your journey. And there is the chance for you to benefit from an offer that is only valid today, but more about that later. Maybe let me stop sharing my slides just for a moment and give me maybe a quick yes in the chat if that worked, just so I see you can see me and I'm looking. Thank you so much. You're with me. Oh, I love this. I love the energy already. So before we move on, I would like to ask you for a favor to make sure that you are getting the most out of this hour we have together. Well, in the market, if you purchase something, you have to invest money, right? I mean, that's a no-brainer. But in personal growth, what do you think is the currency of gaining deeper insights? It's vulnerability. So for us to create that space for your unique well-being today, are you willing to be vulnerable in a way that is, well, let's say 10% beyond your comfort zone? I mean, just for yourself. You're not doing that for me, just for yourself. Just give me a yes or I'm in the chat. By the way, if you cannot see the button bar anymore, which may happen, just click on your Zoom screen to activate it. I see yes. And Henry, sure, yeah. I'm in. Any I'm ins? No. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. And I mean, well, you know, just put the percentage points in the chat that are doable for you if you think 10% is really a little bit too much. I mean, 10%, I mean, 5% would be doable. Do I see any more reactions? 10, okay, thank you. Alfonso, yes. Now with this, let's step into this virtual space we all share together. And let's dedicate it to potential breakthroughs even for your personal well-being. And that's why you're here. That's what you just confirmed, right? So with that, maybe take 1 or maybe even 2 deep breaths. And there we are. Welcome to our space. Now, before we really jump in, I thought I'd share a little bit more about myself, just so you know why we are in this together today. Well, a couple of years ago, I was affected by yet another reorganization of the corporate multinational I worked for. And as a communications professional, when this had happened previously, I'd always acted as a change catalyst on behalf of the top management, communicating to thousands of people, sometimes hundreds and thousands. But this time, it was really something else. The company was to be split in 2, and there were all kinds of scenarios and constantly shifting deadlines. I was in charge of an overarching communication strategy and kept refining it. For many months, I was working long hours trying to come up with a perfect master plan. But it turned out that in my mind, any plan I was working on was not good enough to consider all the facets in the game. With all that not enoughness on my mind, what bothered me on top of it was the malfunctioning of my body. When I worked on my computer, which was about all the time, a numbness started to creep into my right arm. So it felt actually frozen after quite a short while. And despite that voice in my head that kept telling me that it was not enough what I had done, I became a regular at the physiotherapist. And this forced me to carve out precious hours of my agenda with little success. While I kept pushing myself to deliver on yet another milestone, I painfully realized I could no longer function in that self-sabotaging mode, pushed by the events around me and pushed by the constant pressure inside. And I knew I needed a change. When I learned my role was made redundant due to the split of the company, it was a total shock for me at first. But it was only an hour later, actually, that I had a huge insight. This felt absolutely liberating and empowering to me. I decided to leave the company. That's when things started to turn around. I began to watch my inner self-talk that still tried to push me to perform, causing me to feel not enough, and always behind my own expectations, actually. I trained to shift gear when this happened. Slow down and reset myself so I felt more aligned with my body and my well-being as a whole. And I was determined to navigate my life towards my true calling. This is why I got trained and certified as a coach, and ever since I have helped people to train their mental power so they can find their peace of mind and do what makes them thrive. Now, are you ready to tap into your mental power today? And I have to say, just as a recovering perfectionist, I cannot promise you that everything I offer you today will be impeccable, but I sure hope it will be good enough. So please allow me to have a messy moment here and there, and maybe even savor it. That's part of my own journey to grow, I suppose. So are we ready to get started? With this, I would like to briefly check in with you, and we'll pull up our second poll. I hope it will work. Now, that is the first poll. Now, I think I need some help here. Oh, no, I got it. I got it. So the question is, on average, how many days of the week do you feel well? And please note that vacation times are excluded here. We're talking about a routine working week, and we really want to get an impression how you're doing, how your personal well-being is. Ah, yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I'm leaving a little bit more time. Just give me your tick in the box now. We have 40 seconds. Any more? Yeah, we don't have all the votes yet. 50% of all participants voted. So there's still some to go. Anyone else who wants to vote and participate in our poll? Good. With this, I will share the results. Just give me a quick yes if you can see the results in the chat. That would be really cool. Thank you. So we see this is quite a mixed picture. I mean, okay, fortunately, we don't seem to have anyone who really is at 0, 0, 0, but it's a mixed picture, really, quite a mixed picture. And I think that's a very strong start for us to move on together here. So we have 24%, yeah, that's really very mixed. And I stop sharing those results. And just to say, I would like to acknowledge you. If you've been at the low end of that scale, I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I hope you will stay with me and us for this session we have together, and it may be worth it. If you're rather at the high end, that's a great place to explore how you can even expand your capacity to feel well. Keep this in mind, as you might notice a difference later. We'll see about that. So my story may have given you an idea of how I managed to sabotage myself. And in my case, it was mainly a hyperachiever thinking and my inner judge, that is inner critic, that affected my well-being. But I also shared with you that I'm better off today. Better off. And this is why I'm here with you. Unfortunately, I can't teach you everything I know about training your mental fitness in the short time we have together. So for those of you who are really dedicated to growing that capacity, I'll share more about how we can continue to work together later. Now, one last thing before we really dive in. I want you to just picture this. Imagine you were the captain on a ship in the ocean, and you shifted the course of your ship just 1 degree. If you held on to that 1 degree shift for the entire journey, you could actually end up reaching a new continent. Just let me know in the chat if you're ready for that tiny shift during our session, even if you don't see what's in it for you yet at the horizon. Just put the number of degrees you expect to shift in the chat so I get an impression. 1 degree or even more. Should be doable, right? Do I see a 1? Oh, Rafaela says, I see 6%, definitely. Irene, yes. Henry says 5. Alex says 3. Sandra, yes. Hey, you're in it. Yes, that's really good. And I thank you so much for sharing. And I see even a 3 degree, thanks. So what is at the core of our session today? When faced with challenges, stress, or uncomfortable situations, we fall into old, negative, self-sabotaging behaviors. Our saboteurs are the lens through which, excuse me, through which we see and react to the world without knowing that we're wearing any distorting lens. And saboteurs are the negative thought habits and patterns that live deep in our unconscious and derail our performance and happiness. And they greatly impact our relationships at home and at work. Now let me share my slides again. The good news is we can train to intercept our saboteurs and establish a different mindset that handles challenges with a clear and calm mind and positive emotions. To make it more tangible, let's call this mindset the sage. Actually, you know, one of my clients calls it the captain, or you may call it your inner authority, or maybe your wise self, or your steering position. By the way, at this point, my inner judge is interfering, telling me that this will sound appalling to anyone who relies on their rational and analytical skills. And I totally get it. I'm on the analytical side myself. Until the 1970s, there was actually a trend to heavily rely on the rational capacity of the frontal cortex. And by then, research in neuroscience revealed the power of the parts of the brain which are much older in an evolutionary sense. And our limbic system belongs to it as well. So it turns out their language is images and metaphors, and they are 80% faster than our rational thinking. So with this, I invite you and any inner judge or inner critic being around to shift that 1 degree into the powerful world of visualization. I mean, let's simply play with that a little bit, right? Okay, let's get practical and let me share some examples. Let's say you're in the middle of leading an important project. Mistakes and failures are happening all around you. Your judge saboteur might say, I told you you weren't capable of this. What a loser. Aren't you ever going to learn? But your sage would say, mistakes are unavoidable. Glad you caught it. What's the learning? Do you feel the difference? Here are some other ways your saboteurs and sage might respond to the situation. Your controller saboteur might say, no one else can be trusted to get the job done. It's all on you and up to you. But your sage would say, your team are capable of so much more if you take the time to inspire and empower them. The hyper-rationalist saboteur, you know, that one may complain, people are so sloppy and irrational in their thinking, just analyze the data and move on. The sage would go, the team is making progress despite their fears. Be curious about their views and together you will be much more effective. So opposed to that, there are also more subtle saboteur patterns, like for instance, the pleaser. So a pleaser response to a challenge might be, gosh, I can't really tell Bob how he is contributing to the problem. He won't like me anymore. But the sage would go, people actually like and respect you more if you're straight with them. So how does that outlook on these latest findings in neuroscience and cognitive psychology land with you so far? Just give me a quick okay or weird or bewildering or appalling in the chat. So I see. where you are. And by the way, if I don't see any reactions, oh, it's fascinating, and I see totally agree. I need more reactions, I feel, because otherwise my hyperachiever might get into a panic mode, and then I would have to immediately demonstrate to you how I deal with that. But that comes actually only with my key number 2 I'm going to share with you, and I can't wait, but bear with me. So intrigued, I see. Love this lady. Thank you, Vivian. Same to you, and I'm so looking forward to your session right away later. So let me maybe stop sharing my slides again, because I want to look you into the eye. Basically, I wish I could see you for the next part. Because let's dig a little deeper here. Where do saboteurs come from? Saboteurs are a universal phenomenon formed in our early childhood. They start off as our guardians, actually, to help us survive the real and imagined threats to our physical and emotional safety. For example, the hypervigilant saboteur represents a bias for noticing and exaggerating the negative. This bias is an important evolutionary design for our ancestors to have survived the dangers of the jungle. When the tree leaves started shaking, the early human who assumed the worst and ran was the one who survived and passed on their genes. The one who waited to gather full and unbiased information before taking action, well, became the tiger's dinner. As children, we also need to survive emotionally. The human brain is wired to pay close attention to our environment and adjust accordingly. This is to make sure we can bear any emotional strains and actually make it into adulthood. Even if you didn't have a difficult childhood, which I really wish for you, life still presented many challenges that your saboteurs initially developed to handle. Of course, there were kids at school who were taller, smarter, faster, or funnier than you. And there was the time you failed publicly, or got rejected, or felt betrayed. And there was a time you promised yourself, which you likely don't consciously remember, that you would protect yourself so bad things wouldn't happen to you as often. And your saboteurs were the buddies who helped you keep that promise. By the time you're adults, these saboteurs are no longer needed, but they have become invisible inhabitants of our mind. Well, you may argue now that you would not be where you are in your life if you had not been able to push yourself, just according to the motto, no pain, no gain. And this is what I thought as well at first, as you can imagine. Now, here's the thing. Coming back to the favor I had asked you for, you know, those 10% beyond your comfort zone, as you're really honest and also vulnerable with yourself. Let's use another poll at this point, which may serve as another point of messiness. Launch the poll. I'm launching the poll. Give me a quick yes if you can see it at all. Because my question to you is, thinking of the key achievements or milestones in your life, how much pain has been involved in getting those results? And I'm talking about negative emotions such as stress, pressure, disappointment, self-doubt, regret, anger, shame, guilt, or fear. I see 32% have voted, so I'll leave the poll open for a little bit more for those brave people just stretching beyond their 10% of their comfort zone. Are you going another notch beyond? Just share. Share where you are, how much pain was really involved in all the success you've seen in your life. Okay, we've had 1 minute and I think I'll end the poll and I will share the results. Give me a quick yes in the chat, please, if you can see the results, just so I see we're all, yeah, okay, cool. Thank you so much. So what do we see? We see that apparently you had invested quite some pain for your gains. There are some lucky ones who can really say at the low end, no pain involved. And hey, congratulations to you, really, this is great to see. But anyone who scored above that and admits, yeah, there is some pressure involved, some stress, it has cost me something. May want to move on and learn how we can deal with that. Now let me stop sharing at this point. Now, well, this is really, I'll share my slides, just bear with me. The question is, are negative emotions good for you? Is pain good for you? Probably yes. Negative emotions are only good as a 1 second alert signal. Staying in negative emotions actually hurts your ability to see clearly and respond with empathy, curiosity, creativity, or laser-focused action. Well, until now, we've only spoken about our own saboteurs, but in relationships, be aware that we have saboteurs on both sides because they feed on each other and they are contagious, so to speak. For example, let's say we're doing a project together and between us we have a strong stickler that is a perfectionist, a controller, and avoider saboteurs, for instance. And here's what might happen. My stickler ignores the 100 good things that you have done in the project, shows no appreciation whatsoever, and blames you for the one flaw that needs fixing. From my experience, I can say I usually spotted that one typo in a page-long strategy paper. That's how I work. This triggers, of course, your avoider, leading you to feel demotivated, unwilling to share your resentment, and to procrastinate on the issues that need fixing. Your procrastination then triggers my controller to push you to fix things and fix them my way, as I have further lost confidence in your abilities. So, I might rewrite your strategy paper, for instance, and feel upset and frustrated as well, and you might too, right? And the result? Yeah, right. Saboteurs motivate you through negative emotions. So literally speaking, they keep your hand on the stove all the time. Opposed to that, you have the sage that motivates you through positive emotions. And actually, saboteurs and sage live in different parts of the brain. Now, it's not that I have invented all that. In more than 2 decades, there has been a lot of research done on this topic, merging different scientific approaches and movements. Shirzad Jameen has been in charge of some of that research. Actually, with 500,000 people across the world and different stakeholders, ranging from literally hundreds of CEOs, over students in Stanford to star athletes. And it resulted in his best-selling book, Positive Intelligence, from 2012. You may want to have a look at it. Now, let me tell you right away. Shirzad's research presents us with 10 key saboteurs. Well, at least not 50, but 10. And they're headed by our inner judge or critic, you may say, opposed to 5 primary sage powers. But more about that later. Now let me stop sharing my slides again, as this seems to really work. There is also, by the way, a free assessment available online that helps you to find your key saboteurs, because we all have them. I'll share the link to the assessment later, so you're not running off right away and do it now, because in that case, you may miss my key number 2, which actually leads us into practice. Just give me a hint in the chat, again, to all panelists and attendees so far. How useful is this simplified? It's a very simplified model that I had promised to you. You could, for instance, use, again, a scale of 1 to 5 in the chat, with 5 being absolutely awesome. Yes. And 1, yeah, well, okay. I'm bracing myself for potential saboteur panic mode if you let me down here. Okay, I see a lot of simple is good, says Rafaela, and a 5 from Irene, and I see a 4, and Anya Van Bazak says 4, and Shruti says 5, yes, and 2 smileys, and Sanjay 4, and Vivian goes for 4 with exclamation marks, and Muriel says 5. Thank you so much. This is so uplifting for me, because I really want to make sure this is valuable to you and you can really make use of that. So, to briefly recap my key number 1, saboteurs take your greatest strength and turn it into a disadvantage as they overuse it. And it turns out the greatest damage happens if you apply that capability in all situations. For instance, the hyper-rationalist may serve you very well in analyzing a complex data-driven task, but it may not be so helpful at home when dealing with your teenage son or daughter. Got an idea? So in short, saboteurs are great at winning one battle, but they're not helpful in winning the war of overcoming stress, pressure, and fear in your life. Now, over to my key number 2. Are you ready to bust the saboteur mechanisms that cause you all that pain, pressure, and stress? Just give me a quick yes in the chat so I know you're bracing yourself, getting ready. I see yes, 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 great. The great news is, once we have become aware of the saboteur habits of our mind, we have the option to refocus. So whatever thought may be causing you stress, anxiety, or pressure, label it as a saboteur lie, so it loses its credibility and power over you. For example, I think I will screw this up becomes, here goes my saboteur again, and he insists I will screw this up. Feel the difference? You could even give your key saboteurs a nickname to gain some inner distance from them, just so you are not identifying 100% with your saboteur thoughts, which usually happens. For the fun of it, let's see what nicknames you can think of. And please share them in the chat with all attendees, as they may be inspiring to others and possibly consoling. This may also be a little 10% stretch beyond your comfort zone. I see Torben. The annoying aunties. Oh my God. And there are a bunch of them apparently. Oh my God. Yeah. I see more nicknames? Or maybe a metaphor. An auntie is, of course, a nice metaphor for a saboteur, all of a sudden taking the stage in your inner experience space. The joker I see from Irene. Well, I call my hyperachiever, for instance, the whipper. Well, in German, I actually use the word Anpeitscher for my German friends, which is also a really nasty word. You can also use your native language if that's helpful. You don't have to use English. So any further nicknames? Okay, the reason why why I just went there with you is that even if you're convinced your saboteurs have served you well, you can train to just keep an eye on them from an inner distance using the nickname. And once you have heard about my key number 3, you can use some mental tools that may even be more powerful. It's all up to you to notice the difference in your reality anyways. And this is where our first practical exercise comes in. In the next step, I will help to shift, or help you rather. I will not shift you, it's not that far yet, but I will help you to shift your attention to a physical sensation for at least 10 seconds. This quiets the regions of the brain that fuel our saboteurs. And I suggest we simply do such a little shifting exercise now. It will last around 2 minutes, no longer, and I will guide you through it. I'll put up a slide again for you so you can maybe just relax a little bit. I hope you see my slide now. And if you like, you don't have to look at the slide, at those colors. You can also close your eyes or, whatever you prefer, and take a deep breath to begin with. And notice the rising and falling of your chest or stomach with each breath. And sit with your spine straight and relaxed, your head straight, your chest open, your feet flat on the floor. And as thoughts come, gently let them go and refocus. Now, focus on your sense of touch. Rub 2 fingertips gently together with such a tension that you can feel the ridges on both fingers. That is that fine structure of your fingerprint. Just feel those ridges while you're rubbing your fingertips and focus completely on that sensation. Got that? Now focus on your sense of hearing. Hear the farthest away sound that you can hear. Now hear the closest sound that you can hear. The closest sound you hear may be your own breathing. And now feel the temperature of air as it enters your nostrils as you breathe in. And feel the temperature of air as it exits your nostrils while you breathe out. And take your time, and whenever you feel ready, just come back here again and open your eyes. And when saboteur thoughts come back, and they will, repeat this process with patience. If you get upset about your negative self-talk or that nagging voice, you will only be fueling it. Now take a minute to think of a typical situation at work or at home. Oh, I see Alfonso is asking, coffee? Well, a coffee might also interrupt that saboteur mode. But this one is immediate, as quick as it goes. You should be really, really quick. As soon as you realize I'm in saboteur mode, just do that little exercise, and it will be probably quicker than brewing a coffee. But you can just test it out and experiment a little bit. Now take a minute to think of a typical situation at work or at home where you experience your saboteur habit, maybe even combined with a physical symptom, you know, like my frozen arm when I felt not enough. And picture yourself in that situation. And really notice and feel the effect it has on you when your saboteur kicks in and hijacks you all of the sudden. Now next, picture yourself stopping that saboteur mode by doing the shifting exercise you prefer. Picture the effect this will have on your organism and on your mind. Maybe your neck relaxes a bit more. Maybe your shoulders even loosen up a little. With this sensation in your body, you are creating an anchor for your mind that this is how you can stop your saboteurs immediately when it pops up in the future. And it will. And you will be prepared to stop it. Okay, thank you. Are you with me again? Just give me a yes in the chat after that relaxing mode and a little reflective. Just give me some reaction that I see you're still around. I see a yes, 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 yes. Peaceful, still here. Yay. Thank you. Now, yes, good coffee exercise, I see. Yes, of course it does work while you're having coffee. Very peaceful. Now over to our key number 3. Explore how you can shift into a more nourishing mode in your mind. By now we've gained an impression of how we can stop the saboteur mode as soon as we notice it. But once we have stopped it, what do? As you had learned earlier, there is the sage mode, and you can shift into it anytime. So how can you actually make that shift into sage mode? One important clue is this one. The perspective of the sage is every outcome or circumstance can be turned into a gift or an opportunity. Just let it sink in for a second, maybe even with a breath or two. And I'm sure this perspective as such is not new to you. And it's possible that your inner judge is taking over right now with a comment. That's a thought. And you might be noticing, well, it's a critical thought. In this case, just rub your fingertips and watch the effect. Just savor the sage perspective. Be present to it. Now, as you just may have had a real saboteur moment kicking in, you can ask yourself a question at any time. Which perspective is really true? This is bad, the saboteur perspective, or this is a gift? The answer is whatever you focus on becomes true. Now, most probably, you will be familiar with your sage. For instance, when we're in love with someone, we are in sage mode, given we are not blinded with all the butterflies kicking in. And our loved one responds in sage mode as well. So we are full of empathy, curiosity, passion, of course, and love for each other. at first. But after a while, our saboteurs are taking over. Certainly when it comes to all the differences we start to notice in each other as soon as we're not so much in sync anymore. For instance, one of my key saboteurs, to be a little bit vulnerable here myself, is the stickler. And my husband has an avoider saboteur. And what happens? My stickler tends to insist that our home should always look nice and tidy, and chaos must be cleared right away. Chaos is bad, says my stickler. My husband's understanding of tidiness is a different one, and his avoider seems to have quite some impact on the timing. Well, guess which chair in our bedroom is mine? Conflicts, either at home or at work, become so persistent because our saboteurs are feasting on one another's negative energies. And if we're honest, our saboteurs are not interested in resolution. They are only interested in being right. If I let my stickler hijack me, our home has to be tidy, always, period. I see. Sounds familiar, says Rafaela in the chat. So how do we stop this vicious cycle of conflict in our relationships? As you think of your relationships at home or at work, do you recognize how the same old pattern seems to kick in over and over again? Well, what do we do about it, really? Let me show you 3 ways of how you can switch from saboteur mode into the sage perspective. And there's a little trick actually to shift into, for instance, sage emotion. Visualize how they may have looked as a 5-year-old. Their wide eyes, their soft hair, their giggly innocence as a child. Yeah, my husband's smile is still the same, and I love it. Just feel your heart soften as you see their beautiful essence hidden underneath their saboteurs. Makes sense? Now there's another way to deal with that. Apply the sage focus. Instead of focusing on proving how the other person is completely wrong, which happens when we're in saboteur mode, ask yourself, what is the 10% truth in their position? Because in any conflict, each party is at least 10% right. Well, in almost any. Let's maybe not go down the political lane. There's a third trick. Lean into sage listening. Put yourself fully in the other person's shoes and express what you see and feel. In your shoes, I would be feeling blindsided by this action. You can have someone feel deeply hurt, by the way, without having to agree with their position. When we feel hurt, we are much more willing to hear, because one reason we repeat ourselves constantly in conflict is that we don't feel heard. Recognize that? Just give me some reaction in the chat so I know that you're with me. Any of these 3 steps shifts you from your own negative saboteurs to your positive sage. And keep in mind, I see, yeah, all 3. Sounds familiar. Yes, thank you. Keep in mind that the sage is also contagious, making it far more likely that the other person will activate their sage as well and respond with empathy, curiosity, or calmness. So, have you gained some insight so far or gems? Just give me a yes in the chat or share in 1 word, please. Insights or gems. insights or gems. What have you gained so far? I see a yes from Navada coming in. Yep, says Alfonso. Tolu, yes. Second shift gave me a gem that made me tear. Oh, Carita, I'm happy to hear that. Super easy shifts, gaining victory over saboteurs. Yes, this is exactly why I'm here with you, and I'm really, really relieved and grateful to hear that it apparently lands with you. You know what I'm talking about. We're in this together, right? But there is a but. Here's the thing. Lasting positive change requires only 20% insight, but 80% training and mental muscle building. And if you think about it, well, how many trainings have you had in your career that gave you a great aha? Yes, I got it, an epiphany maybe, but fizzled away after quite a short while. I mean, frankly speaking, my corporate employers have invested a fortune in my leadership trainings. And I still remember I was deeply impressed. Really, I've had great trainings, but unfortunately, I cannot recall any details anymore. My learning simply didn't stick. How's that for you? It's all about the practice, making it a habit, says Rafaela. Yeah. This is exactly what this is all about. It actually takes 6 to 8 weeks of intense training until you will have taken on a new habit and start to notice a difference. We know that, right? With all the bad habits we want to get rid of. I mean, and this difference would actually be measurable in your neural pathways that will have grown stronger in that region of the brain. And an MRI scan would show that. Shehzad and others have done a lot of research on that. You can literally see the neural pathways growing. So, but what exactly do we mean by mental muscle? It is, according to Shehzad Jamin, the relative strength of your sage versus your negative saboteurs, which is what we call the PQ. That is the positive intelligence quotient. Now, you may wonder if it is really possible to just shift from saboteur to sage response, even in really tough challenges. Thinking of the Corona crisis, thinking of the situation we're in currently all the time, have been for a month. Well, the answer is yes, but the speed and the depth of the shift depend on your mental muscle strength. And of course, all this is documented in research. It's not that I'm just making the statement here. Now, as I had mentioned before, there is a free assessment you can do online, just to give you an impression. This is what you will get in the first step. Just keep in mind that we all have the inner judge as our universal saboteur, coming in even 3 different modes. He's judging ourselves, we're judging others, and we're judging the circumstances. So, and there are 9 more saboteurs, differing in style and motivation. We have the controller. We talked about the hyperachiever. I know him well. We have the restless, the stickler, talked about him. The pleaser, I mentioned that saboteur briefly. We have the hypervigilant, the avoider, heard about him as well. We also have the victim, I haven't talked about that yet, and the hyperrational. Well, these are the results you would get. I mean, this is just an example. Of course, you would not get these results. You would get your unique score of your ranking of the key saboteurs actually that are popping up in your life. And the nice thing with this assessment is actually that it comes with a very profound description of every single saboteur. So you would, read about their characteristics, their thoughts, their feelings, their lies, and also their initial support pattern, which is, why they showed up as your buddies in your childhood. And actually, I have always experienced that people go like, oh yeah, I know that. It really is spot on, apparently. Now, so far I have presented 3 keys to help you to unleash your mental power to be well, regardless of the circumstances. Let me maybe stop sharing my slides at that point. And I'm looking at my, oh, I see Anirvan, I have 5 minutes to wrap up. Yep, okay. So we're not quite done yet, because one of the most powerful aspects is coming really soon. But before we will hear about it, actually also the giveaway I promised to you, if you stay tuned, I'd really love to share something that I think you'll find very valuable. Yeah? Sounds good? So I think it might be helpful to share about my client, Catherine, really briefly. She was a very bright expert in the chemistry industry, but in meetings with her colleagues, she felt as if she became small and almost invisible, not saying much. Usually she ended up feeling useless and resentful and under growing pressure. When we started working together, her energy was close to 0, but she was craving for a change. She soon realized actually that she got hijacked by her inner judge, who told her to keep her mouth shut because she was a woman. In the next step, Catherine learned how to stop that saboteur and shift into sage mode by using a couple of powerful techniques. And the results were noticed right away at her workplace. And while she kept training her mental fitness, actually, with my support, Catherine applied for her dream job and moved on to another company where she was promoted into the top management after only 4 months. It's stories like these that give me so much passion for the work I do. But even though this is the case, I still feel a little bit nervous about inviting you to continue to work with me. The pleaser saboteur is kicking in like, you're not going to like me if I offer next step. And yeah, but I'm so committed to helping you to step up your mental power that I'm not going to let my saboteur stop me from sharing my gifts with you. So is it okay if I share how we can continue to work together? Maybe just a brief yes in the chat, so I know. Yes, please. I've presented some powerful keys that could help you to shift into the sage mindset, focused on the gift of any circumstance. But for you to get to the sage mode with ease and instantaneously, it's going to take more than a 1-hour workshop. Unfortunately, your automatic habits are probably not going away just like that. But 2 months from now, for instance, I don't want you to be still stuck in those saboteur mechanisms. And half a year from now, I don't want you to feel at the low end of your well-being scale. So I'd like to share something with you which may be of value. This is for you if you're ready to not just invest an hour to learn something about your mental fitness and then, move on. No, it's not for you. No, here I'm wrong. This is for you if you are ready to not just invest an hour to learn something about your mental potential, but to actually commit to training your mental fitness intensely for 6 weeks in a row. And if you just wanted to tune in and listen a little bit, it's not for you. So let me share my offer with you. Just share my screen. I invite you to join a mental fitness bootcamp that I'm happy to offer together with Shirzad Jamin. It aims at training your 3 core mental muscles, like in a gym basically, but then supported by an app and by me personally. The app guides you through your daily exercises of just 2 to 3 minutes each, popping up while you may feel stressed during your day. So by training under real-time conditions, you will notice the immediate effect of your growing PQ. Now, what does the Mental Fitness Bootcamp imply? The training program runs for 6 weeks, so your progress will be measurable. You will receive a weekly video by Shirzad Jamin with a 1-hour introduction to the week, and you will practice 3 times a day on the PQ app. It takes about 15 minutes per day altogether. And you will be part of a 30-minute pod meeting that is a small group once per week to reflect on your findings and answer questions. And that's facilitated by me on Zoom. After the program, you have the option to use the app for free for 1 year. And on top of that, you will get a private and focused online coaching session of 1 hour with me that is fully dedicated to your progress, whatever topic you may choose. I have 5 seats available on the app, on that program. And if you purchase the program through the Positive Intelligence website, you will be charged $1,000. Plus, if I calculate my hourly rates for our 6 meetings and the private coaching session, the value of this offer amounts to 1,800 euros, but not today. Well, this might sound like a big investment, but there is actually a huge cost to still being hijacked by your saboteurs half a year from now, including the negative effects it has on your recovery times, your energy level, and your well-being. However, my offer to you today at the Future at Work event is 197 euro, because it's really my intention to make it affordable to you, to really experience your full SAGE potential. Now, if you're committed, make sure to apply for your seat now in the chat, or send an email to Sandra at EQUILIDO before the end of the day, so before midnight, whatever your time zone. And I will put this note also in the chat. Let me just copy paste it so you get it. Yep, there you should have it. So, and I will then just let you know if you got one of those 5 seats, and we'll share all the details of how to get on the program with you in an email following that. It always starts on Mondays, so the next start is actually this coming Monday, August 31st. You can also choose to get on a free call with me and just ask your questions, and I'll add the link that gives you access to my calendar in the chat right now, because you can really just book your session. It's free. Have a chat with me. And see, I think I'll have to do that again. I think I put all my latest promises, I put them in the chat privately, but I want you to see them. Here they are. And here's the link to the free consultation. Again, can you see that? Just give me a quick hint in the chat if you can see that. And you may want to copy paste those information so you have them, and you can just come back to me anytime. Just so you know, the price of 197 euro will go up incrementally as of tomorrow, and we'll be back on Friday to my normal rate with this 797 euro, which is still giving much more value than on the PQ website. So while some people are still making their decision now, let's recap our session really briefly. If you're feeling negative emotions, stop. You are in saboteur mode. Growing the capacity to intercept, that is, stop your saboteurs, forms actually your first core mental muscle. The second core mental muscle is self-command. Do a 10-second physical exercise, which Shirzad calls PQ rep, to quiet your saboteurs and activate the sage. And the third core mental muscle is your sage, assuming the perspective that every problem can be converted into a gift and opportunity. Once your PQ has grown, you will train to generate the gift by using the sage powers like empathy, curiosity, creativity, and calm, clear-headed action. And that will actually be part of your journey if you're committed to working with me and training your mental fitness. Now, thinking of the next challenge you expect on your path, what sage power would you need to grow? As we're coming to a close, I would like to quickly do a final poll, if I may. Now, let me see. Poll number 4. I'm launching it right now. On a scale of 1 to 5, how committed are you to stopping the self-sabotaging habits of your mind? Wow, I see a fully committed. There is committed, but 50-50, maybe sometime, not a priority right now. Just pick what feels right for you, what you sense when you lean into your commitment. Okay, I'll just quickly share the results. We see we have quite a number of people who are really fully committed. Congratulations to that. And I would love to see you on the mental fitness bootcamp with me. Now, if you ticked a 4, committed but, I would love to invite you to just maybe hop on a free call with me and tell me what you would need to step up a notch on your scale into the 5, into your full commitment, which is to your benefit, in your interest, stopping your saboteurs anytime and shifting into your sage. Now, if our session has been of value to you, I invite you to connect with me. And please, now I stopped sharing the poll. I hope you can see my slides again. No, I messed this up. No, because we have one last topic, which is actually your free giveaway. I promised you to give you a special little gift, which is actually a 10-minute audio file with a visualization that will help you to shift into your sage mode deeply, also to anchor it into your organism and into your mind. And I'm happy to send that to you if you share your email address with me in the chat now, or just drop me an email to sandra@equilido.com. And what I will also do is to simply post the link to the assessment into the chat. You can also copy paste that and see. I see yes, yes, yes. Thank you. A lot of buzz here in the chat. Thank you. So if you want to go ahead and just do that little assessment to find out about your saboteurs, now you can run off and do it right away. It's just 3 minutes. If our session today has been of value to you, I invite you to connect with me, and please do spread the news. I would be so happy to repeat this session with your friends, maybe your family, if it's a big family, your team or your organization. And of course, I look forward to supporting you at the Mental Fitness Bootcamp. Make sure you send me an email to secure your spot before midnight, regardless of the time zone. Know that I'm here to help you step into your power to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, for the wonderful session and the workshop. As Sandra has mentioned, if people want to get in touch with her or especially take the free giveaway, send her a note at sandra@equilido.com. The details are there in the chat box or on the screen as you see. So with that, I would like to thank you again, Sandra, for a wonderful session, very captivating, a lot, we all learned, and also I was looking through the interaction. People just loved the session. So with that, thank you, and look forward to seeing you again in one of our next events.
I would love that. Thanks.